This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Right, thank you PC Jacob for letting me know about this article. For you guys, I shall put it in the description box. Go have a read of it for yourself. But before you do, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. So the attendance for Wilder vs Breazeale this past weekend was 13,181. Just under 6,000 short of full capacity. 6,000. That is absolutely diabolical. Now, I know Wilder fans, who cares? It's not about that. It's not about that. It is about that. All of it's relevant, and I shall reveal why all of it is relevant, and I shall try and use some language for some of the fanatical Wilder fans who can understand. I'll even speak slowly for you. Now, 6,000 short is absolutely terrible. On a side note, I know somebody who is with his partner in New York on holiday and decided to buy tickets. They're not Wilder fans or anything, but decided to go experience a boxing event in New York while they were there. So they got tickets to go there. And the people who were owning the events, the security, whatever they were actually ushering people forward to fill up the front seats. So if you bought a cheaper ticket, you were actually being upgraded. You were being moved forward. Why? It's for the effect, isn't it? For camera. So when the fight's on, it looks like there's more people in. Sky Sports did drop the ball. They decided to pan around the arena at one point, and you could see huge patches of empty seats. But in addition to that as well, he did take a recording of this as well. And apparently they were using some company called Theatre Mania. I think that's what he said. I might be wrong on that one, but something like Theatre Mania. You guys can go have a look for it yourself. But apparently this is a company where you contact this company if your event is struggling, and then they will send people to come sit in empty seats. So they were using that company as well. But yet still only managed to put 13,000 in the arena. That is absolutely diabolical for a WBC heavyweight title fight in New York. Anthony Joshua is fighting 2 weeks later. So bear in mind, this is not a video about who would win between the two, not at all. This is about pulling power, star power. Joshua, 3-4 weeks ago, had already sold 17,000 tickets. Whether you want to believe that or not, this is the truth of it. And I'm sure that they've shifted a hell of a lot more since. Will it sell out? No idea. But if it doesn't, it won't be far off. And this is Joshua. This is a Brit coming to the same city of New York that Wilder fought. A different arena, but same city. And the tickets are 3 times more expensive for the Joshua event than what they were for the Wilder event. Now, I know that the Wilder fanatics, they will automatically say, yeah, but that's because most of those are Brits. Well, think about it. Let's try and use a little bit of logic if you can, if it's at all possible. What's more convenient? What's cheaper? Is it cheaper and convenient for a Brit to travel, say, from London or Glasgow, wherever, to go to New York? Plus the accommodation, the flight, all that kind of thing. Is that cheaper and more convenient than it is for you, wherever you are in your country of America, to get from there to New York? What's cheaper and more convenient? Well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's far more convenient and cheaper for you to go support Wilder than it is for the Brits to go from the UK to America, isn't it? How many of the Wilder fanatical channels actually went to the event? I'd imagine that's probably some. New York, I'd imagine that some of these YouTubers are from New York. So again, they had no excuse not to go. What about those ones who sit around blazing, they're trying to get subs and trying to get views and super chats and all this kind of thing? How many of these guys, right after the fight, were doing post-fight reviews of it? Bearing in mind that this fight wasn't even on pay-per-view. How many of these guys actually would rather get the views? But you know what? They're quite happy to take interviews of Wilder, but not actually go and support him. They didn't pay not 1 penny towards Wilder on this one. Not 1 penny. How many of those bought tickets, even though that they're not going, just to help the event? How many of those bought tickets, knowing that they can't go, but maybe give them away as a competition, for example, to their subs, as a thank you for all the super chats that they get, knowing full well that that event is struggling? Hey, listen, if Wilder and Breazeale were selling out like hotcakes, fair enough, why would you need to? But because I knew a few weeks ago it was selling poorly. I was doing videos on it. It was selling poorly. What did they do? You see, again, they'll quite happily take your super chats, but won't give anything back. They pretend that they're Wilder fans. They're not Wilder fans at all. He's a flash in the pan fan. So Joshua is going to New York 2 weeks later and has embarrassed Wilder. Absolutely humiliating. We don't know how the fight's going to go. For all we know, Andy Ruiz might beat Joshua. We don't know, but it's not about that. It's about pulling power. Joshua is a bigger star in America. And again, the Wilder fans, they have this strange mentality of, well, the UK is smaller, so therefore people can get to London, for example, Wembley Stadium, or Cardiff much easier than what you can in America to go to New York or Los Angeles, wherever it may be that Wilder's fighting. Yes, it is more convenient, but you have a hell of a lot more people in your country. A hell of a lot more people. So therefore, it should be easier for you to sell. The law of averages is in your favour. Surely to God. Isn't America the so-called mecca of boxing, as you guys call it? Isn't Wilder a superstar? WWE events sell out, UFC events sell out, concerts sell out. So why is Wilder not selling out? In New York, the Bronx Bomber, as he calls himself. Why is he only putting 13,000 into a 19,000 arena? That is terrible. These guys say, yeah, but you can pick up the United Kingdom and place it in the middle of Texas or California, whatever it may be. Who cares what it may be? But again, you're exposing yourself because you have a hell of a lot more people in your country. Think about it, okay? Let me try and use a bit of the Wilder fanatic logic here, just so they understand. I'm going to stoop down to their kind of level, okay? So these guys, what they probably do at some point, because these guys are like online hustlers of YouTube. It's what they do. So imagine you guys, okay? You're out there on your street corner selling your gear, selling your dope, whatever it is you call it. Okay, I've never touched this stuff in my life, but these guys do. They're all sat there, hold on while I bleed, all that kind of garbage, right? So you guys imagine that you guys are stood there on the corner selling your gear and you're making $500 a day. A guy around the other corner from the other street is selling the exact same gear, but he's only making $50 a day. He meets up with you one day and says, yo, I think you and me, we should do this together, 50-50. What are you going to say? This is the whole point. Now, you guys can say, yeah, but it doesn't matter how much Joshua gets. It doesn't matter how much Wilder gets. Well, it does. All these things are relevant. Would you give up your corner of selling your gear to somebody else who's doing not even a tenth of what you do and give him 50-50? You wouldn't. And this is what's stopping the fight from happening. It's all about money. And Eddie Hearn and Joshua will look at these kind of events and go, but you can't sell. What do you bring to the table? You bring one belt. So what we've got to do, we've got to pay you 100 million. We've got to give you 50-50. 100 million for one fight. This is the latest thing that Wilder says. This is called pricing yourself out. Look at the post-fight interviews after the fight. He's quite willing to take on Tyson Fury. He's quite willing, clearly, to take on Luis Ortiz next. As Luis Ortiz was in the ring, mentioned Joshua, he starts stuttering, coming up with excuses. Well, this fight will happen, but we need to build it, we need to marinate it, we need to try and make as much money as we can. Do you see what I mean? He doesn't want the fight. If he was that confident of beating Joshua, he'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Because he's going to get paid very well anyway. Let's do it. I'll become undisputed, the first 4-belt undisputed heavyweight champion. Get those belts, and then write your own damn checks. But he's not confident. He's not as confident as what his fans may be. Well, in fact, his fans are not confident. They're just breathing a sigh of relief that Wilder managed to get through Dominic Breazeale, which is why they've come back online trolling, even though for the last couple of weeks they've been as quiet as a dormouse, haven't they? So the point is, Joshua is a bigger seller. This is why the fight isn't happening, because your guy's pricing himself out. Much like if you were selling your gear, would you give up 50-50 to a guy who wasn't selling as much gear as you? Of course not. It's the same kind of logic. Same logic. Wilder is not a superstar. Wilder is not a... The fight wasn't even on pay-per-view. And apparently Showtime gave him, was it 9.5 million? 9.5 million for that. fully expect Showtime Boxing to be closing its doors if that was true. I don't think it's true. But if it is true, first of all, big up. That is some decent money, that's for sure. It's still not even half of what he was offered for the same fight, but to be put onto DAZN. But regardless, it's still decent money. How Showtime can afford that, I have no idea. They probably sat there going, oh my God, we've just paid out 9 million for a guy who's only putting 13,000 in the arena, and most of them were giveaways. It wasn't pay-per-view either. Regardless of what the viewing figures was, it makes no difference. It doesn't contribute that much more. I don't know what the viewing figures are, to be honest. But it's free to air, is it not, on Showtime? Or you have a subscription, a subscription pass for Showtime anyway, do you not? Joshua is a bigger star in America. It's just that simple. And I'm tired of hearing the Wilder fanatics saying, yeah, it's because the UK is so much smaller, so therefore you can fill out arenas. It doesn't make sense when you say that. It doesn't make sense. Not at all. What if I stood in the O2 Arena with a whole cart full of popcorn, selling out popcorn? And then I did the exact same thing at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000. So I'm going from 20,000 people potentially selling popcorn to 90,000 selling popcorn to. Where am I going to make more money? Your logic just doesn't make any kind of sense. You're making excuses. You keep giving this guy a pass. This guy is not a superstar, and he's got the laziest fans on the planet. The laziest bone idle fans on the planet. They would rather make their videos than go support their guy. They didn't even buy tickets and give them away to their subs. They didn't do anything like that, did they? Hey, if you did, big up to you for doing it. If his event was selling out, of course you don't need to. But it's obvious that it wasn't. You didn't even contribute. But you quite happily, hey Wilder, you fancy an interview, bro? Fancy an interview, bro? Lazy bone idle. 13,000 out of a potential 19,000 is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Dillian Whyte is selling out more than what Wilder is. I'm pretty sure that Tyson Fury, when he fights Tom Schwartz, will probably sell more tickets than what this one is. In fact, I haven't even had a look at that one yet, actually. I'll have a look at that in a bit. Wilder's not a seller. He's just not a star. People don't warm to him because of his attitude, because of his cherry bum picking. He doesn't take on the best of the best. He's always got an excuse, and you keep giving him pass after pass after pass. All you guys have done a complete U-turn to wanting the fight. And because now it's evidently clear that Wilder has fear of Joshua, suddenly now you're making excuses for him. You're pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Wilder is not a pulling star. He just isn't. 13,000 is terrible, absolutely terrible. You're in the state of New York. You should sell that like that. Terrible. Joshua has outdone Wilder on numbers yet again in his own country. But yet Joshua's not known, right? Good one. Keep going with that logic, because you're just making yourself look stupid. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.